I was the true heir of the Ming family. Yet I was humiliated and bullied relentlessly by the imposter, labeled a country bumpkin and a hick. All because I had been lost for years, powerless and without influence. Wen Lan stepped forward to rescue me, and from that day on, I pursued her for 7 long years. She became my fiancée, yet she scorned me for not being respectable or presentable enough. My retaliation against the imposter was seen as intolerance. When I was subjected to humiliation and beatings, she remained indifferent. When my grandmother, who raised me, lacked medical funds, I pleaded with her for help, but she listened to the imposter and decided to teach me a lesson, to make me learn my place. Later, my grandmother died. I was beaten black and blue, lost a finger, and my lifelong dream of playing the piano was shattered. I learned my lesson, but I no longer wanted her. When I walked barefoot through the city, in tattered clothes, I became the laughingstock of the circle. The Ming family's young master, reckless and flamboyant, had always viciously targeted the eldest young master and was ignominiously expelled from the Ming family. Now, burdened with heavy debts, I had been severely punished. They seemed to have made an appointment, gathering to watch my misfortune, pointing and whispering. Many even recorded videos, filled with mockery and disdain. I felt numb to the humiliation, my face expressionless, my gaze vacant as I walked forward. Because I was no longer the proud Ming Zhen of the past. My pride had long been shattered by inhuman torture, forced to kneel on the ground and bark like a dog, repeatedly slapping myself. My once handsome face was now red and swollen. My forehead, bruised and purple from prolonged kowtowing. My head forcibly held under foul-smelling, dirty water, nearly suffocating me. Ming Zhen was dead, killed by the Ming family, Wen Lan and the loan sharks. A luxurious motorcade dispersed the onlookers, the young ladies and gentlemen of high society. At the head was a Rolls-Royce, bearing a familiar and arrogant license plate. I knew that inside sat my fiancée, Wen Lan. In the past, the sight of that car would have filled me with ecstasy. I wouldn't have wanted to miss a single moment with my beloved. Now, I merely attempted to bypass the car with an indifferent expression. A young man dressed as a butler emerged from the car. The moment he saw me, his pupils widened in surprise. I knew what he was surprised about. Barefoot, my soles covered in bloody scratches, clothes tattered, emanating a strange odor. My right hand covered by a dusty gray glove, looking dirty and anything but presentable. Who would have thought this was the once proud and passionate young master of the Ming family? The man composed himself, respectfully gesturing towards me. Young Master Ming, Miss is waiting for you in the car. I've been infatuated with Wen Lan for 7 years, relentlessly pursuing her, even mocked as a simp. Yet it was my beloved, the object of my affection, who, when I needed help the most, pressed me further down into the mire I was already struggling in. No need, I can walk myself, I mumbled, head lowered. Just as I took a barefoot step forward, a sharp horn blared. The car window rolled down, revealing Wen Lan's cold and delicate face. Her voice held an unquestionable command. Get in. I sighed inwardly. The opportunity to be near her, once a fervent desire, now felt like self-inflicted torture. Dragging my weary steps, I slowly boarded the car. Seeing my disheveled state, Wen Lan didn't show any sympathy. Instead, she frowned in displeasure. How did you manage to get yourself into this state? You look like you've been scavenging. My heart was a stagnant pool, undisturbed by her taunts. In the past, hearing such a remark from my beloved would have filled me with shame and heartache. I'm sorry. I murmured an apology. I'm sorry for offending your eyes. Although I didn't want this either. I didn't want to be beaten black and blue, didn't want to kneel and bark like a dog, didn't want to slap my own face repeatedly, didn't want to be burned with cigarette butts. But compared to the physical abuse, I couldn't bear the loss of my grandmother, who had been with me since childhood, her death devoid of peace. Hearing my apology, Wen Lan's expression flickered. After a moment, she lifted her red lips in satisfaction. Ming Zhen was right. Your spirit has indeed been broken. Ming Zhen was my nominal older brother, the one who enjoyed all the privileges of the Ming family before I was found. After my return, because my parents were reluctant to part with him, I, the rightful heir, became the younger master. I didn't have time to ponder the deeper meaning of Wen Lan's words before she beckoned me with a crooked finger. Come here, as if summoning a lowly, pitiful dog. My body stiffened. I had maintained the greatest possible distance from her since entering the car, avoiding her gaze. Now, hearing this, I lowered my head, my eyes filled with resistance. Listen to me. The woman's tone was domineering, her voice hardened. Her long-standing position of authority made her commands carry an undeniable force. My back stiffened, but I still refused to approach her. Any affection I once held had long been eroded by those days of torment that stripped me of all dignity. Wen Lan, impatient, grabbed my hand, her beautiful eyebrows furrowing. What are you playing at now? Playing at? A wry smile touched my lips. The situation felt utterly ridiculous. I squeezed my eyes shut, not wanting to look at her for another second. Those dark memories flooded my mind uncontrollably. That day, my parents, believing I was too arrogant and always targeting the seemingly gentle and refined Ming Shun, had cut off my credit cards to teach me a lesson. I stormed out of the Ming family home. No one tried to stop me. It seemed that in the Ming family, Ming Shun was completely superfluous. My heart ached, and I wanted to call my grandmother. In this world, only she truly loved Ming Shun without reservation. But then I received the devastating news of her serious illness. I was anxious and panicked, wanting to help her get treatment, but my cards had been deactivated as punishment from my parents. I tried calling them, but no one answered. The thought of my grandmother, critically ill and waiting for treatment, made my heart feel like it was being squeezed by a giant hand. The pain was excruciating. I forced myself to calm down and dialed Wen Lan's number without hesitation, asking to borrow money. The woman who answered the phone spoke with a cold, mocking voice. Ming Shun, what trouble have you gotten into now? Can't you learn from Ming Shun and change your bad habits? Her merciless words were like a slap in the face, a mixture of heartache and humiliation. Ming Shun was my sore spot. I hated it most when people compared me to him. A hypocritical imposter who had stolen my place. But I still tried to explain that I needed the money for my grandmother's treatment. Unfortunately, before I could even speak, the call was abruptly disconnected. When I called back, no one answered. My heart grew cold. A sense of helplessness and despair washed over me. Later, I ran into a few wealthy young men from our circle who looked down on me. They grinned at me. We heard you're in need of money. We can spare some for you. But there's no such thing as a free lunch, is there, you country bumpkin? One of them patted my face with insulting force. Just be a good little peasant and entertain us, and we might throw you some money. The humiliation clenched my fists, and I longed to punch those good-for-nothings. But I thought of my grandmother, pale and coughing up blood on her sickbed. I couldn't. Enduring the humiliation, I asked, what do you want? Start by kowtowing to us a few times. After all, we're benefactors now. Without hesitation, I slammed my head against the ground, the sound echoing loudly, my forehead turning purple. They didn't stop there, making me bark like a dog, spitting in my face, and stubbing out their cigarettes on my skin. I gritted my teeth and didn't resist. Compared to my pain and dignity, my grandmother's life was more important. After they had their fill of tormenting me, they tossed a few red bills at my face, laughing. You really are a country bumpkin, as lowly as dog. Consider this a reward, but that's all you're worth. President Wen was right. You're just a low-class nobody. My eyes reddened with rage, realizing I had been tricked, but I was helpless. My grandmother desperately needed money for treatment, and in my desperation, I borrowed from loan sharks. She was the one who had raised me since I was a child. I couldn't abandon her. But by the time I got the money, it was too late. My grandmother had passed away. The tragedy was that I couldn't even give my grandmother a proper funeral. The loan sharks showed up at the funeral, staining the white mourning cloth with my blood. My body was bruised and battered from their clubs, my face swollen from their slaps, my hair pulled as they dunked my head in dirty water, the lack of oxygen in my lungs suffocating me. They leered, threatening to snatch my grandmother's urn and scatter her ashes. I shielded the urn with my body, protecting it with all my might. And my right hand, which I valued more than my own life, had a finger crushed, shattering my dream of becoming a pianist. The The piano prodigy could no longer play, a punishment that pierced my heart. The memory of those experiences made my breath hitch. The hand that Wen Lan held felt like it was burning, a searing pain. My stomach churned with a visceral wave of nausea. I felt utterly disgusted, wanting to vomit. I hunched over wretchedly, my face pale. Having not eaten for a long time, I could only dry heave. No, I had eaten something. Those loan sharks had forced chunks of black, raw meat into my mouth. Mechanically chewing, the bloody taste made my eyes well up with tears. Ming. Wen Lan called out my name in disgust, immediately covering her nose. Wen Lan was extremely particular about cleanliness, always meticulously neat, and this was clearly pushing her to the limit. I forced a smile. I'm sorry, Wen Lan, for causing you trouble. I'll clean your car for you. Normally, I never called her Wen Lan. I would affectionately call her Lan Lan, or I'd call her sister in a spoiled manner. Wen Lan paused, her gaze complex, a hint of concern in her eyes. Her pale hand reached out, wanted to touch my forehead. Are you all right? What happened to you? I flinched away as if I had been shocked. Seeing the hurt and indignation in her expression, I knew I shouldn't have recoiled. But my body's instinctive reaction was beyond my control. I didn't want any contact with her. The image of my grandmother, lying on the hospital bed, gasping for breath with tubes inserted, would forever be etched in my memory. Because I couldn't pay the fees, the hospital had stopped treating my grandmother. She had the chance and the ability to pay the fees and prolong my grandmother's life. But she had cruelly refused. At that time, my grandmother, coughing up blood, struggled to reach out her wrinkled hand to touch my face. My dear grandson, are they treating you well? Even on the brink of death, her voice was strained, yet her eyes were filled with concern for me. No, they don't like me at all. My parents preferred Ming, who had grown up with them, believing that I, who had grown up in the countryside, was inferior to him in every way. Ming was like a venomous snake, always waiting for an opportunity to strike. The woman I loved, my fiancée, didn't love me either. Very well, they all treat me very well, I choked out. I didn't want my grandmother to worry about me anymore. She had worried about me her entire life. Hearing this, my grandmother smiled contentedly, her outstretched hand trembling before falling limply. She closed her eyes forever. Wen Lan, initially furious, softened when she saw the tears I was trying to hold back. You should stay with the Ming family from now on, stop targeting Ming, and stop causing trouble. Have you learned your lesson now that you've suffered outside? I closed my eyes, not responding. Every word was a cruel irony. They always defined me, labeled me. I was the domineering bully, and Ming was the obedient and gentle one. Learn my lesson? Ha ha. Even my grandmother's death was used as a way to punish me. The car stopped, and we arrived at the Ming family home. I walked straight in. My mother, seeing my disheveled appearance, was both distressed and reproachful. Where had you been all these days? There should be a limit to throwing tantrums, shouldn't there? Why do you always act up and make yourself look like this? A wave of grievance washed over me, and my eyes reddened uncontrollably. Mom, I had barely uttered a syllable when a handsome man descending the stairs interrupted me. The man coughed, his lips pale. Mom, has younger brother finally returned? I stopped blaming him a long time ago. My mother's attention was immediately diverted to Ming. You caught a cold just a few days ago. You need to rest more. Come, have some chicken soup to nourish yourself. As she spoke, she handed the tray with the chicken soup to Ming, her eyes full of concern. The man's eyes held a hint of smugness, and he curled his lips at me. Does younger brother want some? My mother looked at me, a trace of awkwardness appearing on her face. If Xiaozhen wants some, I'll have the kitchen make more. I shook my head. During my time outside, I had eaten raw meat and steam buns that had been trampled underfoot. My stomach was no longer able to digest such delicacies. But Ming wouldn't let it go. He stared at my gloved right hand, his voice dripping with malice. Why is younger brother suddenly wearing gloves? Is it because playing the piano requires this kind of protection for the hands? I could no longer maintain my stiff smile. His words pierced my heart like a knife. The experiences of the past few days had left me with no energy to confront him as I had in the past. I bypassed him, intending to go upstairs. Ming Shun feigned grievance and asked my mother, "Mom, it seems younger brother still doesn't like me." I really don't blame him for what happened back then. My mother's face hardened, and she spoke without thinking. "Ming Shun, why are you so unrepentant? Always targeting Ming Shun. What did they teach you before? Raising you to be so malicious." They, my adoptive parents, maliciously switched the children, beat and scolded me constantly, and were wholeheartedly focused on paving the way for their biological son, Ming Shun. The only person who treated me kindly was my grandmother. She scavenged for recyclables to pay for my schooling and piano lessons, without a single complaint. She toiled herself to the bone, and even in death, she was still worried about me. My grandmother is my untouchable reverse scale. No one can touch that. I changed from my previous state of exhaustion and numbness, staring directly at her. I told you before about the abuse from my adoptive parents. How could they have raised me well? Grandma is the person I love and respect the most. She raised me single-handedly. What right do you have to say such things? My eyes were filled with coldness. My mother felt a pang of pain in her heart as she looked at me, and she realized she had spoken out of turn. "I'm sorry, Xiaojun. It's Mom's fault. Can you forgive Mom? But this time, you caused Ming Shan to fall into the water and have a high fever for several days. Why can't you get along with Ming Shan?" The woman's expression was helpless, and tears glistened in her eyes. But I didn't push Ming Shun into the water. This was just a scene he directed and acted in himself. It's not that I don't want to get along with Ming Shun. It's that he can't tolerate me. Ming Shun appeared gentle and polite, but during our middle school years, he instigated others to harm and bully me. He was a master at using others to do his dirty work. Later, after I returned to the Ming family, such scenes continued to occur. Those who were close to Ming Shun always ostracized me, calling me a country bumpkin. They often used despicable tricks to frame me, and this incident with the water was just the tip of the iceberg. Wen Lan's face also turned cold, and she warned me in a low voice, "Enough, Ming Shun." I ignored her and went upstairs without expression. The dinner was served. The atmosphere at the table was a bit awkward because of the tension just now. Mom gave me a conciliatory smile and piled my small bowl full of food. She even meticulously picked out the green onions that I disliked, one by one. I was overwhelmed by mixed feelings. There was no doubt that she loved me, but I wasn't the only one she loved. Then, she took out the bank card from her pocket and stuffed it into my hand. "Xiaojun, the dad and I have been on tenterhooks since you left. We couldn't sleep or eat well. We won't restrain you anymore. With us here, you can do whatever you want." Mom sighed, her eyes moist. "No matter what, we, as your parents, will always stand behind you. The card has been unfrozen. Life is short, and we just want you to be happy." I clutched the card tightly, so tightly that my palm ached. Finally, I slowly released it. "Mom, it's too late. This card came too late. You didn't give it when Grandma was lying on her sickbed, tortured by illness, with no money for treatment. You didn't give it when I was tormented because of money. Now, I don't need it anymore." Seeing this, a crack appeared in the perpetual mask of hypocrisy on Ming Shen's face. The knuckles of the hand holding his chopsticks turned white. After a while, noticing my gaze, the man put his smile back on. The car key beside his hand was very conspicuous. It was the latest limited edition sport car, the one I had mentioned to Wen Lan. I thought it was cool, but very hard to get a global limited edition. Wen Lan said that if I behaved and didn't make trouble, she would give it to me as a birthday present. Actually, I could buy it myself, but it was different when the person I loved said it. I looked forward to it wholeheartedly, but I never expected it to fall into Ming Shun's hands. Wen Lan saw it and said, with a hint of explanation, "It's Ming Shun's birthday, and he wanted—" "Yes," I said indifferently. "You don't need to explain to me. It's your right to give it to whomever you want." Wen Lan smiled with satisfaction. "You've become much more sensible after this trip. When it's your birthday, I'll keep my promise and buy it for you." Ming Shun's face became visibly ugly. I smiled sarcastically. "No need. I won't take something that comes late, especially something that is the same as Ming Shun. I'm full. You guys take your time." Unlike my previous outbursts and hysterics, my emotions were now as silent as a pool of stagnant water. Wen Lan blocked me in front of my room. I kept a certain distance, not clinging to her like before. She stared at me with a complex expression for a few seconds. Then she said with a sigh, "You've changed a lot after this trip. You're not clingy anymore, and you're obedient. It's good." Good? I suppressed the urge to tremble. My face was trampled under a pair of leather shoes and rubbed hard, the skin broken, blood flowing out with a sharp pain. My toes were slammed against the stone steps, red and swollen. Punches and kicks landed on me without mercy, as if my internal organs were being displaced. Under the bloody head, Grandma's wails were like sharp knives piercing my heart. I was helpless and could only watch my closest relative pass away. You need to practice the piano more these days. The piano competition is in a month. The woman took a puff of her cigarette and said arrogantly, "Ming, you're already 26. It's time to be more stable and strive for your future. I don't expect you to be as good as Ming in every aspect, but as my fiancée, at least you can't be as reckless as before. I won't participate in the piano competition." I clenched my right hand, the one missing a finger, the pain reminding me of everything that had happened. Wen Lan seemed to think I was being unreasonable. She raised her voice and said irritably, "How long are you going to keep this up? Are you throwing a tantrum because I praised Ming Shun? Or is it because of the car? Didn't I tell you? If you behave well, I'll buy one for you too. How old are you? Are you childish? Are you joking about your future?" "I'm not joking. My future had already been destroyed. Whatever. It's your own business. Just don't regret it," Wen Lan warned sternly. "Also, stop targeting Ming Shun." I hummed softly, hoping she would leave soon. The woman turned and left angrily. After a few steps, she stopped, and her voice was heavy. Wen Lan, will not accept a useless fiancé. Think about it carefully." Before I could reply, she strode away. By coincidence, this time, I also didn't plan to cling on. The girl, who was as bright as fire that summer, eventually burned me to ashes. I haphazardly packed my luggage, stuffing in only a few clothes I had brought with me, and went to the company to find my father. Those few pieces of clothing were bought for me by my grandmother. With her wrinkled hands, she had taken the money earned from selling scraps and collecting empty bottles, and walked a dozen or so miles to the county town to carefully select them. All because she worried that I wouldn't look presentable and that my biological parents wouldn't like me. My father was still dealing with documents. When he saw me, his eyebrows shot up in surprise, and he asked why I had come. I took off the filthy glove and calmly told him everything that had happened, including the loan sharks and my grandmother's death. The man, who had always been silent and strong, suddenly had red eyes, his lips trembling uncontrollably. "Xiaojun, it's all Dad and Mom's fault. We shouldn't have stopped your card and let you go out alone. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't have." Before he could finish, I hastily interrupted him. "It's all in the past. Don't mention it again. I didn't want to relive that nightmare again. Dad, I want to move out." Hearing this, my father slumped back in his chair, as if he had aged more than 10 years in an instant. "Xiaojun, do you resent us? You should resent us. You were left out there for so many years and suffered so much. And now you've gone through all this. Your mother and I didn't protect you." I lowered my eyes and said nothing. My father stared at my maimed right hand, his body trembling uncontrollably. "Xiaojun, Dad will get you the best doctor. You'll get better." He reached out his hands, tried to pat my shoulder to comfort me. The painful experiences of the past, the constant beatings and torture, made me instinctively squat down, hug my head, and beg, "Don't hit me. Please don't hit me." My father's tears streamed down his face. "Son, no one can hurt you anymore. Dad will protect you." I was still immersed in my own world, tears streaming down my face, my body trembling uncontrollably. After a good while of comforting, my emotions gradually calmed down. "Xiaojun, can you not move out? Dad is worried about you," he said, his heart aching. "Dad, I can't take it. I really can't. I'll die if I stay at home. I want to be alone and have some peace," I said, choking back sobs. My father's lips trembled, and he could no longer say anything in opposition. He just carefully patted my shoulder, as if treating a fragile and precious object. "Son, take this card. You'll definitely need money when you go out. If you encounter any difficulties, you must contact Dad. We will always be your family." I didn't respond to this belated concern. I only said, "Dad, help me break off the engagement with Wen Lan. My father was stunned. Does Wen Lan know? Didn't you really like Wen Lan before? I said resolutely. That was before. When you tell her, she'll know. Seeing that I had made up my mind, my father sighed helplessly, but still nodded. A stone was lifted from my heart. As for how Wen Lan would react, I didn't care. I dragged my suitcase and turned to leave without any lingering attachment, even though I could feel his reluctant gaze. It was all too late. The wounds that had been inflicted needed me to find a place to heal on my own. I found a small apartment, far from the Ming family home. When I took my clothes out of the suitcase, my heart clenched, and I couldn't help but think of Grandma. Many of my clothes were actually made by Grandma, piece by piece, on her sewing machine. Sweetie, look, do you like it? Does it look good on you? She would hand me the clothes, and when I put them on, her eyes were full of love. I love it, Grandma. You made it so well. Hearing this, Grandma's eyes would crinkle into a smile, filled with contentment. Later, when people from the small village said my clothes were old-fashioned, Grandma didn't say anything. She just walked silently, limping for more than 10 miles to the county town, carrying a plastic bag containing all her savings to buy me a decent outfit. Her aged hand gently stroked my head, tears welling in her eyes. Sweetie, it's Grandma's fault, but our precious child should have what others have. Seeing the black shirt she clutched tightly in her arms, my tears couldn't be held back any longer. Grandma isn't useless. Grandma is the best grandma. When my adoptive parents mistreated me, beating and scolding me, it was Grandma who stood up for me, wielding a broom against them. It was also Grandma who raised me. Later, when she learned about my true parentage, Grandma went to the small county town again and bought the best clothes she could afford, wanting me to look presentable, unwilling for me to be looked down upon. Why did I fall for Wen Lan? It was because when I first entered that circle, I was always ostracized. Phrases like country bumpkin, low class, and hick bruised my self-esteem. I was helpless and angry, but when I got home, I didn't dare to rebel for fear of causing trouble and annoying my parents. It was then that Wen Lan appeared like a fairy, her cold, proud eyes blazing with fire. Do you know how to speak? If you don't need your mouths, donate them to someone who does. What kind of skill is it to bully someone here? It only shows your uncouth trash. A group of dandies flushed red at her rebuke, but they didn't dare say anything more. Wen Lan pulled my hand to the side, her features cold but with a hint of gentleness. Don't be afraid, Ming. You did nothing wrong. If they dare to provoke you like this, fight back. I know you might not be used to it just yet, but you are the young master of the Ming family. Don't worry so much. New to the Ming family, I lacked a sense of security. Wen Lan's protection and words struck a chord in my heart, and so I became her devoted follower for 7 long years. But later, the woman who had protected me would only impatiently scold me, asking me not to be so tyrannical, not to bully Ming. When I was abused by loan sharks and called her again, her casual, I don't know any Ming. There's only one Ming family young master, Ming, dragged me into hell. The loan sharks thought I was lying, and, enraged, they whipped my skin raw, burned me with cigarettes, and beat me until I coughed up blood. But that's all in the past. Now I want to start a new life and heal from those old wounds. After dinner, I went for a walk behind the university complex, envious of the energetic figures of the college students playing ball. Shenzhen, is that really you? A surprised female voice called out. Since returning to the Ming family, it had been a long time since anyone had called me Shenzhen. I turned around, and the beautiful figure before me gradually overlapped with the one in my memory. Qing. I tentatively said the name. It's me. The woman smiled brightly, like the rising sun. Qing was my classmate from junior high to the first year of high school. I hadn't seen her since I returned to the Ming family. She was a ray of sunshine in my small-town life. When I was ridiculed for being poor and unfashionable, she never looked down on me. Instead, she helped me with my studies and brought me breakfast. In my youth, I was often silent due to my unspoken self-esteem, while Qing would chatter around me, sharing the day's interesting events. The girl was actually very smart, always inadvertently saying encouraging words to me. Shenzhen, just be yourself. You're kind and handsome. Don't care what others say. In the future, when you're successful, they'll all be begging you. The girl's eyes shone with a firm and bright light. And Qing was the only girl back then who believed a poor boy could succeed. She was my best friend and my first love. Ajahn, how are you doing? Is Grandma in good health? Hearing about Grandma, a tear rolled down my cheek. I wiped it away discreetly and said, Grandma has passed away. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought that up. The girl quickly apologized. It's okay. How are you doing? I changed the subject, tried to lighten the mood. Pretty good. I'm a university teacher here now. But I still miss the days in the small town, relaxed and free. The small town was a shared memory, and coupled with those irreplaceable memories from back then, the awkwardness between us quickly dissipated. After spending a few days with Qing, I slowly opened up, and we grew closer. She truly was a warm person. The love I lacked in the Ming family, the loneliness I felt from Wen Lan's neglect, were all compensated for. My Ming family parents weren't unloving, but they could never get past Ming Shun. Even after the truth about my adoptive parents deliberately switching the children came to light, my birth mother was still unwilling to send Ming Shun away. Instead, she looked at me with tears in her eyes. Xiao Zhan, you and Ming Shun are both my children. Can you get along well? The mistakes adults make shouldn't affect the children. She even asked me not to mind Ming Shun's presence. New to the Ming family, how could I say no? And Ming Shun, who appeared gentle and refined in her eyes, had bullied me countless times, and my retaliation was seen as intolerance towards him. And Qing's appearance allowed me, after Grandma, to feel loved and cared for again. The once empty apartment was filled with furniture we chose together. The decor was warm-toned, full of homely comfort. As I curled up on the sofa, the aroma of food wafted from the kitchen. And Qing picked up a piece, gently blew on it, and fed it to me. How's the seasoning? Great. I love this domestic bliss. Hearing my praise, and Qing smiled, her eyes crinkling. We ate together, chatting about recent events and everyday things at the dinner table, even down to which fruit stall had the sweetest and cheapest fruit. After dinner, I washed the dishes and Qing gently kissed my cheek. Afterward, we ate snacks and fruit together, snuggled up watching a movie. It was an ordinary day, but very warm. My body and soul, enveloped in love, were reborn, almost making me forget those dark and unbearable days. The doorbell rang urgently. I thought it was Qing, who might have forgotten her keys. I opened the door with a helpless smile, which froze on my face when I saw who it was. Ajahn, come back with me. The ice in Wen Lan's eyes had melted, leaving only guilt and heartache. I know everything, you. Shut up. I interrupted her fiercely before she could finish. Don't ever mention the past again. Wen Lan nodded obediently. Okay, Ajahn, I won't. Come back with me. You're the young master of the Ming family and my fiancée. You can get the best treatment if you come back. You can't stay here forever. I closed my eyes, feeling a surge of irritation. I'm not going back. I'm doing well now, and I have my own life. I've already told Dad that the engagement is off. Find yourself another fiancé. Wen Lan was stung by my ruthlessness, her eyes reddening. Ajahn, you said you'd always love me. I know I was wrong before, but you can't just end our relationship so abruptly. I remained silent, watching her impassively. It wasn't until Wen Lan noticed the women's slippers inside the house that she seemed to find a reason. She cried out, Have you fallen out of love with me? Is it because there's another woman that you're being so heartless to me? Once, seeing the tears of the woman I loved, who had always seemed so unattainable, I would have ached to pull her into my arms. But now I felt only weary and annoyed. Wen Lan, it's over between us from the moment I returned to the Ming family. My voice was cold. Did you really think a flimsy "I'm sorry" could erase everything I suffered? I slowly peeled back the scars, hurting her and reminding myself. When my grandmother was sick and needed money for treatment, what did you say? You didn't listen to my explanation, instead telling me not to make a fuss. And because there was no money to pay, Grandma's treatment was stopped. But you could have afforded it. You just didn't believe me, and you weren't willing. When I was being abused and beaten by loan sharks, I called you. What did you say then? I enunciated, almost word by word. You said the only young master of the Ming family was Ming Shun, and that you didn't know any Ming Zhan. During that time, I lived like a dog, getting beaten, kneeling to eat filthy food off the ground. They even threatened to scatter my grandmother's ashes. That's when my finger was broken. When I was at my most helpless and desperate, you pushed me further into hell. Wen Lan trembled, sobbing uncontrollably. Ming Zhen, I didn't mean to. Ming Shun told me that this would make you less clingy, more obedient, and motivated. I didn't know all this would happen. Can we start over? I'll be good to you from now on. I'll listen to everything you say. Just forget that woman. Wen Lan pleaded humbly. Why don't you understand? It's completely over between us. There is not a trace of love in my eyes. Don't come near me again. The sight of you makes me want to vomit. But Wen Lan refused to give up. The bodyguard behind her, receiving her signal, struck me on the back of my neck, and I fainted. When I woke up again, I was already at the Ming family home. Wen Lan had been by my side the entire time. She, usually a picture of elegance, now had her clothes and hair in disarray, looking utterly haggard. My parents, upon seeing me awake, couldn't hold back their tears. My mother was overwhelmed with guilt. Xiaozhen, your father and I are so sorry. We failed to protect you. It's all my fault for trusting Ming Shen so much. I've let you suffer so much all these years. I never imagined he would hurt you like this, not even sparing his own grandmother. As it turned out, the rich kids who humiliated me and the loan sharks were all part of Ming Shen's plan. He even filmed videos of me being humiliated, crawling on the ground like a dog, and eating filthy food. The reason my mother's phone was unreachable was that Ming Shen had hung up on her and deleted the call records. My father, who was in a meeting at the time, also missed the call. My fists clenched involuntarily. It was one thing to hurt me, but this heartless monster didn't even spare his own grandmother. He watched her pass away, foregoing treatment due to lack of money. My father's eyes were also moist as he looked at me and said slowly, Ming Shun has been imprisoned. Oh, I replied calmly. What do you need me to do now? Write a letter of forgiveness? So Ming Shun can spend a few years less in jail? Honestly, I can't possibly write it, but I do owe you my life. If you insist, I really can't refuse. My mother broke down in tears at my words. Xiaozhen, is that how you think of your mother? I know I was wrong. From now on, you're my only child. I won't be greedy anymore. I was the one who hurt you. From now on, Mom will protect you. I'll never let you suffer like this again. Can you forgive Mom? Her eyes were filled with hope, a faint light flickering within them, as if my words alone could determine whether that light would be extinguished. I lowered my head, remained silent for a long time, and then gave my answer. I'm sorry, Mom. You like this bank card, were not there when I needed you most. Now, I don't need you anymore. When I was drowning in the river, struggling, no one came to my rescue. My cries for help were in vain. Later, when I managed to get ashore, the hand that reached out to me was meaningless. Mom, I used to love you very much, and I had high hopes for this family. You were very good to me. You looked at me with pity, unlike my adoptive mother, who always beat me. But you were always called away by Ming Shun's various affairs. You asked me to get along with Ming Shun in the future. When Ming Shun bullied me and framed me, you didn't believe me either. I know you love me, but between me and Ming Shun, you actually chose Ming Shun time and time again. Mom, I said, looking her earnestly in the eyes, this time, it's my turn to give up on you. My mother collapsed to the ground, her body unable to straighten up due to grief, and a wave of painful, suppressed sobs came from her. My eyes were also moist, but I didn't change my mind. Not everything in the world deserved forgiveness. The harm has already been done, and belated repentance inevitably seems cheap. When it was just Wen Lan and me, I looked at her sincerely. Wen Lan, I no longer have any love for you. Let's be civil and call off the engagement. Don't force me to hate you. You can find a more ambitious partner who better meets your requirements. You don't have to waste your efforts on me. The usually aloof girl was weeping uncontrollably. That's not it. I like you, Ming Zhen. I took her words. You just want a partner who better meets your requirements for your own selfish desires. Now it's completely over. I have someone I love, and I don't want to dwell on the past. Don't make me regret meeting you. Wen Lan's eyes were brimming with tears, but she stubbornly refused to let them fall. She held back her sobs and said, Ming Zhen, I'll wait for you. If I can't wait for you in 10 or 20 years, I'll wait for you for a lifetime. I didn't answer, and there wasn't a ripple of emotion in my heart. I would no longer love someone with whom there was no future. Back at the apartment, and Xing and I continued to live our sweet and happy life. She cooked, I washed the dishes, and together we built a happy little home. We chose an auspicious day and got married. Nothing changed after the wedding. We were still very happy and even adopted a kitten. As for my crippled right hand, and Xing gently kissed my scar. This is what you got for protecting your grandmother. It's a hero's medal. It won't affect anything. I still love you. If you want to play the piano, you can continue. I believe in you. I was gradually healed and returned to the path of piano. Even with a missing finger, I could still win championships, and my wife was always in the audience, cheering me on. Wen Lan remained unmarried, even though Xing and I had been married for 10 years. And Xing even got jealous once. I laughed and pulled my wife into my arms. That's all in the past. Now, my eyes and heart are only for you. She's just an insignificant person. I had completely said goodbye to the past and embraced a new life.